Nvidia seems to be having a very rough week. A few days ago, we saw their stock in a matter of a day experience the largest single-day loss for any company on record, a $600 billion market value loss, thanks to DeepSeek's introduction of their AI model. The RTX 5090 Good Luck Edition has launched, and it's basically the definition of a paper launch. And reviews for the RTX 5080 basically showed how this is probably the worst 80-class GPU Nvidia has ever launched. All that and more to be discussed in this video.
Hey, if you enjoy content like this, drop a like, make sure to subscribe, and smash that bell so you never miss another video.
Hey, what is going on, guys? Danny here, welcome back to the channel, and I hope you've all been doing well. I wanted to kick this video off by talking about the absolute disaster of a launch for the RTX 5090 as it hit store shelves today and is basically the definition of a paper launch. Now, if you saw my video where I recently talked about the true pricing on the RTX 50 series GPUs and the availability, then you would have already known about this. Here in Canada, as I had disclosed, Canada Computers had put out a statement that they will have no RTX 5090s on launch day, and it will have an extremely limited amount of RTX 5080s. It's the same thing over at Memory Express, and they're a more smaller chain. Newegg.ca is on par with Canada Computers, if not larger, and they are also experiencing the same thing. And so the only place to buy one was Best Buy, but I've heard that all of Canada had only got like 10 to 15 5090s, and that was it. They straight up were telling people that don't come line up at a restore, you're not getting shit, so don't bother. Over in the US, it looks like you guys south of the border are getting more 5090s, but it also looks like it's not a huge amount. Last night, people on Nvidia subreddit had been posting pictures of notices that were posted outside of Micro Center locations indicating how much stock they will have for the RTX 5080 and 5090. And yeah, just take a look at these notices. This is just laughable, but it's also quite pathetic. From what I had heard, these stores across all the US only got like 150 5090s, and I'm not sure how credible that is, but it's really looking like that was actually the case. At least they had the decency to tell people beforehand how much inventory they're carrying, because they probably didn't want an army of gamers and hardware nerds lining up in front of their store, but still, it was quite astonishing to see the turnout at some of these stores, with people setting up camping tents, and there had been people there for multiple days.
For how many days have you been out here now?
I got here at 7:30 yesterday morning, so basically about 48 hours ahead of launch. Every time I've come out, I've had a good experience. People will stand in line and we'll take turns if we need to go to the restroom or something, you know.
You know what? As much as I'd like to admire his dedication, it's quite crazy to see that, there was such a huge turnout for these graphics cards and people went to such lengths, because it's not like these GPUs were anything spectacular. Like, we are going to go over the 5080 reviews and we saw the 5090 reviews, and the prices here are just absolutely crazy. Other parts of the world are also facing supply issues. Apparently in Japan, one store had enacted a lottery system. Now, you can argue what's fair, if it should be first come first serve, or this way they're giving all prospects a fair chance. I take it they did this because they also just didn't want to deal with the chaos of a lineup outside. An Nvidia staff member had put out a statement over on their forums that they will have a very limited amount of supply, and that stockouts are expected to happen, and that they're shipping supply to their retail partners every day to get the GPUs in the hands of gamers. Well, isn't that nice? Honestly, I'm not sure what's going on. If someone over at Nvidia colossally fucked this up, like, you knew that there was going to be quite a bit of demand considering you're the only player in this high-end space right now. There's no COVID, there's no silicon shortages being reported by manufacturers, no mining boom, so there was some major miscommunication there. Or perhaps it could be that Nvidia is basically running 98% of its supply production for the AI and server-based GPU chips, and they only have a very limited production line running for the consumer cards. Or the other thing I've heard is that Nvidia is basically taking the Nintendo approach, where they're just artificially limiting supply because they want to garner more hype, attention, and FOMO, which in this case might be something that they need, because shifting to our next topic, we have benchmarks for the RTX 5080, and man, this is just a sad state of affairs. It's actually quite disheartening to see how degraded Nvidia has made the 80 class. You can go and take a look at benchmarks from a variety of reviewers, and they all basically showed the same thing. The 5080 on average is like 10 to 15% faster, which is still bad, but in a lot of instances there were just single-digit improvements, and in some cases it would even lose to the previous generation model. How many freaking times have we seen over these past few months with these new hardware releases where a new generation product is losing to the old one? Even in some AI workloads I saw it lose to the previous generation, which is saying something considering Blackwell was designed with AI in mind. It's blatantly obvious that the 5080 is like a 5070 or 5060 Ti class GPU being disguised as an 80 class card, being sold at $1,000, and is being hidden behind the AI curtain to artificially make it look faster than it really is. I know I just recently praised the DLSS 4 model and showed some frame gen stuff, but what I expect from a new generation is at least 30 to 40% improvement at the same price without being facilitated by upscaling in frame generation. It's going to be really interesting to see if Nvidia does a 5080 Super or a 5080 Ti because there is such a large gap. The 5080 is basically half the 5090, so you could actually fit in like 3 more SKUs in there. I have a feeling that once the dust settles, maybe in like 8 to 10 months, you'll start hearing rumors about a 5080 Ti that will offer the same performance as a 4090 and have an MSRP of like $1,200 just to sway over those buyers on the fence. And speaking of MSRP, I don't know if you guys have recently looked at the pricing for the 5080, but you're not getting this card at MSRP unless you strike gold and get an FE model at Best Buy, or you could find one of the low-end AIB models, which also appear to be very limited. So for most people, expect to be paying like $1,200 to $1,500 plus for the 5080. But overall, the RTX 5080, man, it's just such an underwhelming graphics card. But what's sad is that we know it's going to sell out, and the whole reason for that is because it's the only option. Like sure, a discounted 7900 XTX will offer much better bang for the buck, but people want the Nvidia features, man. It's going back to that mindshare we always talk about. More and more people are getting on board with enhanced AI graphics and motion smoothing technologies, and as you guys saw from the Micro Center turnout, people really want to get their hands on these cards. And the other reason is that there are a number of 20 series and 30 series owners, or maybe 10 series owners, who haven't upgraded by now, and they are feeling that upgrade itch. And for those people, regardless of how bad this card is over the previous gen, for these people, it's gonna be a large leap, which at the end of the day is all that matters to them. Launch and stock availability issues, poor performance aren't the only troubles that Nvidia had to deal with this week. Their stock price took a massive hit, plunging by nearly 17% and wiping out $600 billion in market value due to fears sparked by a new AI competitor called DeepSeek. This kind of knee-jerk reaction from the market isn't really anything new though. Investors often panic when a potential competitor shakes up the whole narrative. However, what many don't even realize is that DeepSeek's AI advancements are still actually heavily reliant on Nvidia's GPU. So ironically, while the stock tanked, the demand for Nvidia's AI infrastructure hasn't really gone anywhere. Nvidia are basically selling shovels in a gold rush. That's what they're doing here. It's a small bump in the road basically for Nvidia. You guys can see their stock price is basically starting to rebound, and I mean, it's not going to fully tank or crash until there's like a whole big AI market crash for everything. So, and I don't foresee that happening anytime in the future. So yeah, it's been a chaotic launch window for Nvidia, but between disappointing products and, stock fluctuations, it's clear the company is facing more than just typical growing pains. It'll be interesting to see how they steer through this whole storm over the coming months, but for now, that's going to be doing it for this one. We'll be touching base in the next video.
If you guys found this video to be informative and entertaining, then leave a like. Let me know your thoughts and comments down below. Be sure to check out the video description for cool links and ways to support the channel, such as using my Amazon affiliate link. And if you're interested in seeing more content like this, then consider subscribing. I'd greatly appreciate it. Thank you guys so much for watching, take care, and I'll see you in the next one.